Rimple Duva.
Borgsy.
Oh. Equa.
Mog.
Polino. Grosh. Barbo. Fuma Kimba.
Names.
You bring me down for all to see, then switch it up and treat me right. You promise sun, but you bring rain. I still love what you do to me. The highest highs, the lowest lows. You take me to every extreme. Can't get enough, please let me be. But I love what you do to me. From me, and then you touch, I feel so much. I just love what you do to me. What you do to me.
Oh.
Well, hey there, neighbors. I hope you enjoyed that little story behind today's build featuring the oh-so-iconic Bella and Mortimer Goth. The Machinima gives you a little glimpse of how this build could come to life in your own sim stories. So now let's take a look at the building itself, where I'll walk you through some of my favorite details, the inspiration behind the design, and a few of the choices that brought it all together. So, welcome to Chez de Manger, which means to eat. This restaurant community lot that I originally built with Willow Creek in mind, specifically as a replacement for the library building here in the neighborhood. I don't tend to use standalone library lots all that often, unless a particular career or gameplay requirement sends my sims there. So when I was looking at this particular space, I thought it would be much more useful to turn it into something that I would actually use in my regular gameplay. And what better addition to the older part of Willow Creek than an upscale French restaurant? The original inspiration for this build was really the idea of an older, established apartment complex with a French restaurant tucked inside of one of those, the brick buildings you might find in an older downtown neighborhood. I wanted it to have a little bit of elegance without feeling too pristine or too modern. So we've got the older brick exterior, the stonework embellishments around the windows and around the trims and such, and some of those architectural details that help make the building feel like it has been here for quite some time. I really wanted it to feel as though this restaurant has been part of this neighborhood for a long time before I ever showed up. And that's something that I keep in mind whenever I'm building. Of course, aesthetics matter. I want the building to look good. But for me, playability matters more. I want the finished build to feel like it belongs in the world, and I want there to be enough little details that it doesn't feel like the building was simply dropped into an empty lot just randomly. So let's maybe start with the exterior. The front of the restaurant is probably one of my favorite parts because this is really where the overall character of the building starts to come together. I wanted the entrance to feel inviting, but still a little bit formal. This isn't a casual neighborhood cafe, where you wander in wearing your pajamas and nobody cares. I mean, well, technically your Sim still could do that, if you choose to, but aesthetically this is meant to feel like you dress up a little before heading out to dinner. The brick and stone combination was important because I didn't want the building to feel too clean or contemporary, but also, give the building that age and warmth, but also shows that bit of the division between the two kind of portions of the restaurant and the, apartments. We can then move around to the side of the building, and you'll notice I didn't want the restaurant to look like it simply ends at the dining room. I've tried to make it feel like part of a larger building. This attached section of the facade is meant to give the impression that there are apartments above. I mean, obviously. The Sims don't necessarily make that functional in a way that I would maybe like, or we would all like, right? Like having a restaurant and rental apartments just does not happen. But I did want it to give that feel that it's a mixed-use building, that people, live here, they work here, and they come down here for dinner. It makes the whole lot feel more like a little piece of the downtown neighborhood rather than a standalone community lot. And then we have this blue door. This is actually the entrance into the kitchen, and I've locked it in my game for staff. That was one of those little gameplay decisions that I think makes a difference. I don't want really my diners wandering in through the kitchen while they're waiting for their table or coming in to get a table. So keeping that door restricted keeps the restaurant functioning a little more naturally. But I also really like the way that it works visually from the outside. Because of the way the facade is designed, it almost looks like it could be a separate entrance into the attached building apartments. So something that is there for gameplay purposes also happens to sell the architecture, I think. And then around the back, we've got the alley. Now, I deliberately didn't make this area too pretty because, well, it's an alley. In real life, alleys aren't generally known for being the most glamorous part of town. We've got some garbage scattered around, the bins are also tucked back here, and just enough clutter to make this feel a little less polished at the side of the building. I actually really like adding areas like this to builds because it helps create some contrast. And the back is where the deliveries happen, the garbage goes out, and all of the less glamorous parts of running a restaurant or living in an apartment takes place. And I really like the eco-lifestyle trash bins back here. They fit the setting really well visually, but they also happen to be functional in whatever way you choose, which is always a bonus. I think that those are the kind of details that can make a build feel a little more believable. You don't necessarily notice them immediately, but they're all doing a little bit of background storytelling. So let's see the inside now. The interior is where I really wanted the romantic side of the restaurant to come through. I pictured this as an upscale place where you might want to go for a special dinner or a date, rather than somewhere you'd necessarily stop for a quick meal. There's a little bit of elegance, but I didn't want to go so far with it that it became uncomfortable or overly formal. The goal was romantic, warm, and inviting. somewhere that felt appropriate for that first date night. And then, of course, we have the dining area around the perimeter. I tried to keep the tables arranged so the restaurant feels spacious and comfortable while maintaining that intimate atmosphere, and also try to avoid those rooting issues if possible. I also like that the windows allow the restaurant to feel connected to the street outside. When you're building in a neighborhood like Willow Creek, I think that connection between the interior and exterior is important. You don't want the building to feel like a sealed off box, and you want to feel like there's a neighborhood or life happening outside of it. And then we come to another favorite feature of the restaurant, the entertainment area. I wanted live entertainment to be part of this restaurant's identity, so we've got a piano and a microphone for a singer. I think that, you could also hire a comedian, of course. I really like that combination because it gives the restaurant a little bit more personality than simply having background music playing. However, there is background music playing. There are stereos on the walls. There's something about having a pianist and maybe a singer performing in the corner of a restaurant that immediately makes the space feel more like an evening destination. And it also fits with the original idea I had for the restaurant. This isn't just some place your Sims go because they're hungry. It's somewhere they go because they're celebrating something, or because they want a special evening with that new love in their life, or simply because they want to spend some time somewhere that feels a little more memorable. And then, of course, there's the dancing. Because if you've got live music, you've got to have a little dancing. I mean, that's at least my excuse. I wanted the space to allow for that without making the dance floor the centerpiece of the restaurant. It's there, but it doesn't overpower the dining experience. And I think that's a good reflection of what I was trying to achieve with the entire build. Everything has a purpose, but nothing should feel like it was added just because I had an empty space to fill. I mean, most of the time, right? That's probably one of the biggest things I think about when I'm building. Does this actually contribute to the story or the function of the space? And if it doesn't, it probably, again, most of the time, doesn't need to be there. Now let's have a look at the bathrooms. I mean, they're pretty straightforward, but just outside them, you'll notice these little check coat closets, and these are another one of those details that are functional enough to make sense, but also add a little bit of personality to the build. What happens in them is, of course, entirely up to your Sims, and I think we'll just maybe leave that there. I don't think we need to investigate that particular architectural decision any further. Moving back to the outside, we've got another small detail that I really like, and that is the city bench. It's not a major feature of the build, obviously, but I wanted there to be a bit of street furniture outside the restaurant. It helps make the building feel like it exists within an actual neighborhood. And I think these little transitional spaces are easy to overlook when you're building. The entrance, the sidewalk, the little bits of space between the building and the street, but they can make a big difference in how connected a lot feels to its surroundings. And that really brings me back to the overall idea behind Chez de Manger. I wasn't trying to create the biggest or most elaborate restaurant. I wanted to create a building that felt like it belonged somewhere. Something with a little bit of history, something that could have existed here in Willow Creek for years. Something where you could imagine maybe the same waiter working for like 20 years, or the pianist being a regular Friday night fixture, and the upstairs apartment being occupied by people who come and go throughout the restaurant and the downtown every day. Those are the little imaginary details that I think making building in The Sims so much fun. Because even though we know it's just a game, once you start adding those little pieces of imagined history, the buildings begin to feel like they're part of a larger world. That's really what I was going for here. Chez de Manger was built with Willow Creek in mind, but of course it doesn't have to stay there. This lot is a 30 by 20, so as long as you've got a lot that size or larger, it could be placed anywhere else in your game. I originally designed it around this particular location because I thought the older architecture and established neighborhood of Willow Creek suited the restaurant really well. But I always like leaving a little bit of flexibility in my builds. Because once it leaves my game and goes into someone else's, I don't really get to decide where it belongs anymore, right? And that's perfectly fine. If you'd like to add this restaurant to your own game, you can find it on the Sims 4 gallery under my gallery ID, Canuck Simmer. And if you do end up using it, I would genuinely love to hear what you think. I always enjoy hearing whether a build actually works once someone else puts it into their game, because that's ultimately what matters most to me when I share it. Does it function well? Does it really, does it feel like it belongs in the world? And does it give you that little spark of an idea when you look at it and start imagining what might happen there with your Sims? And so that's a wrap on today's build. I hope you enjoyed seeing the story machinima behind this building and getting a closer look at all the details that brought it all together. If you enjoyed the video, I would really appreciate you finding that like button and giving it a cheeky little tickle. And of course, let me know in the comments what your favorite part was, whether you could see a story taking place here for your Sims, and maybe if there's a build you'd like to see next on the channel. And if you'd like to see more builds and stories from our little corner of The Sims, don't forget to subscribe, because there's always room for another neighbor in the village. Until then, take care, simmer and chill, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.